Yes! I can't wait to watch the Bulls game on my new TV.
Oh, no. Our new TV.
Our new one. Okay, Bull Boys. Here we go. Bulls.
So I actually have a question. Like, DeMar hit these 2 game winners, right? First, if I'm not mistaken, to do that back-to-back, like 2 games in a row in NBA history. Is that right?
Yeah, on consecutive days, apparently.
Consecutive days, right?
Yeah, I saw a Hooper Vision with Jamal Crawford and Quentin Richardson the other day during the Bulls-Wizards game, and apparently Jamal Crawford was the first one to hit it in back-to-back days, or in back-to-back games. But DeRozan, obviously, since it was the Bulls didn't have a day in between games, like he was the first one to do it on consecutive days in league history. Yeah. So it's like kind of like a not like a loophole, but like it's still the same feat, but it's just cool that obviously like he had the opportunity to do it on back-to-back days, especially going into the new year too. So
right, the schedule guys just kind of favored DeRozan's tenure versus that. Like, that's not Jamal Crawford's fault that he didn't do it. He's clearly capable of doing it. But so my question though is like, so those are 2 like huge kind of heroic games from DeMar. He's been amazing for Chicago. Fourth quarter stretches all season. And then you've kind of seen since those 2 performances, there's been a bit of a drop off, you could say. And then also, but then like Zach, he'll kind of pick up the scoring load and he'll try and assert himself as well. And so Zach will pick that up and he'll try and assert himself as well. But do you see any sort of fatigue happening at this point of the season? Obviously, it's January now. We're headed into like the last few months, gearing up for the playoffs. But do you have any concerns about fatigue leading into the playoffs?
I don't think so right now. I mean, that's something they do have to pay attention to,
Yeah,
like heading down the course of the regular season. But we've barely hit the midway mark in terms of we haven't played 41 games yet, obviously because of some of the postponements. But
right.
we're right around that midseason mark, and for Billy Donovan, I think he's gonna have to do a little bit more of what he's been kind of had to do, like while certain guys were in protocols, which is mix and match and find rest in between or rest during games, basically. The thing with DeRozan is he plays so much with that second unit. Like they need that stabilizing, obviously shot maker and then playmaker. But if we can get more extended minutes out of Ayo and Kobe playing together and playing well off the bench, like they did in that Washington game, maybe we can have DeMar rest for even just a couple minutes at a time, because that it does wear on them, especially with the Bulls playing small and them having to guard bigger guys over the course of the season. That's always going to be a factor. Guys like Derek Jones Jr., for instance, guys who aren't, I wouldn't say power forward is not his natural position, but he can play the 3 and the 4. But Caruso's there a lot of times. Derek Jones, whoever's playing that spot on a nightly basis, they're still going up against a guy who's a lot bigger. So I think for a lot of the guys, Donovan's going to have to just find more ways to steal minutes and just figure out ways to, like I said, rest him during games where he's not really missing any extended period of time.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you. I guess I'm just thinking more of like usage rates and things like that. It's like DeMar and Zach, they definitely have the ball a lot. They take a lot of shots, right? They're carrying a lot of that load.
Right.
And so the fear is just that, down the stretch. Not only that, but then, teams definitely like to double DeMar because he's definitely trying to get into the paint, trying to take mid ranges or drive.
Yeah.
Zach will obviously spread the floor a little bit more, but yeah, just kind of that dominance. Like I've definitely seen times where there's wide open passes, right? And you can just tell from a mile away, DeMar's like, I'm about to shoot this, or Zach's like, I'm about to shoot this. Like they're clearly not passing, and there's a guy wide open. And it doesn't seem like there's any rift in terms of like chemistry. Like guys seem fine with that. Like there's a pecking order of this team, and they all play for each other, and that's fine. But at the same time, it's just like, yeah, that their usage rates are pretty high.
That's true. That's true. And to your point, yeah, it's a lot of times. Yeah, you'll see like obviously off a simple pick and roll, if a team decides to trap, which I feel like Dallas was doing a lot this pass game. Like they'll put two on DeMar.
Right,
That quick pass is like, okay, either gonna hit Tony Bradley right now or you're not gonna pass it to him basically. And then you have to
right.
find that second read. But I think both him and both DeMar and Zach have to figure out or just kind of trust that open man, that open slip, open man in the middle more often than not because Vooch can make that play easily. Like that's not,
Yeah,
and he has multiple options. He can just turn around and score. He can kick it out, find a 3-point shooter. Tony Bradley isn't a natural short roll playmaker, so he's not gonna be, and he's not money yet with like a short jumper or a floater where like he's gonna score if you give it to him
right.
right there.
Yeah,
So
you
I
don't
think a
want to
little
catch
bit
him
of
on an
that.
island.
Right. So I think a little bit of that is like a little bit of a trust factor, but if they start just swinging the ball around quickly, they'll find an open look, and I think that's really what the point is, just kind of getting the guy in the middle in the first place. Because like I said with Vooch, if he's right there and he's the guy making the decision, he's gonna make a good one usually. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's something I've definitely seen him adjust to pretty well, like with this new dynamic. Making good decisions when he gets put in that spot, right? He'll catch it middle of the floor and he generally just doesn't turn the ball over. Like he'll make the right decision, whether that's a floater, push shot, hitting an open guy in the corner for a three, whatever. Or just, pulling up and hitting the jump shot himself. But yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. Another point I want to bring up, which is them actually trusting their teammates a little bit more. And like I actually believe that once again, chemistry is good. There's no issues there, but there are definitely spots where it's just like, you can hit him right there, wide open jump shot. Like come playoff time, I'm all for like, hey, let your best players just put it all on the line. But it's like throughout the course of
right.
the season, building in that rest that you were just talking about, it's like, yeah, you can let some of the other guys cook for a few games in different spots, and you can still pull out the W, and that preserves, your star players, but it also just kind of keeps the ball rolling there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's why I feel like this upcoming stretch is gonna be so important because it's a couple games bookended with you know there's an elite opponent in one game, and then the other game it's like a I wouldn't say not so elite, but the first game that we play this week is against the Pistons tomorrow. Obviously, they're a lottery team, but then we have the Nets, national TV, and then the Warriors. Obviously, these are back to back
Mm.
teams that could make the finals. And then the Celtics are playing a little better lately, but they're in the play-in right now. Basically, I want to see, to your point, what the hierarchy is going to be in terms of these big games because we played these before. We've obviously played
Yep.
Brooklyn and Golden State earlier this season, and then obviously Golden State on national TV. But we weren't number one at the East when we played them, basically. And if we were, obviously, it was so early in the season, it didn't hold the same weight as it does now, where Brooklyn's looking at us and we're looking at them, where we're vying for the same spot right now. Like we're trying to get either that top
Right.
seed or better positioning in the playoffs. So same with Golden State. Um, they just got Clay back. They're gonna be fired up. They already beat us. So I just want to see how we distribute the shots. And once again, like if we're able to get that sort of consistent production across the board, like 5 or 6 guys in double figures versus Zach DeMar and Vooch carrying the load and then not getting enough offensive production or help on the other end. So
Right. Yeah, we're definitely gonna need that full like collective team effort. Two things I just noticed what you're saying though. So first, that Brooklyn game on Wednesday, that's a home game for the Bulls. So Kyrie's playing, right?
yeah, he is.
Because
Yeah,
because
it's
they'll
funny.
be on the road. I didn't even think
Yeah,
about
I was
that.
just I was just reading the quote. It's like I'll be ready for Chicago on
Oh man,
Wednesday.
I
So
did not expect to see Kyrie at the UC this year. So that's that'll be good.
it's a treat for
But
whoever's going. It's
that's
crazy.
definitely a treat. Yeah, anybody who like had tickets before, that they made
Right?
this exception, like just a cherry on top.
Yeah, if you bought those tickets back in like I don't know October, whenever, and then
About to
obviously
come up.
it's like wow, this ticket's worth a lot more now. It's great.
Right. And then Golden State, it's like Clay broke that record against the Bulls back in the day, right?
Oh,
Like
I
he
remember.
would he would come back for, for the Bulls like ready to go.
I know, man. Those were I was about to say dark times like 4 years ago, but yeah, those were
Right.
some rough
It feels
times.
longer.
It's funny
Yeah.
when you're like, obviously Clay's so likable, and he's a great
Right.
player, historic player, especially on a run
Right.
like that. It's crazy. Like during that game, it's like, man, like I low key want him not to get the record against us, but if it's gonna happen right now, like you might as well just the way he was shooting that night was so crazy.
No, and it's funny you say that because, like, if it was anybody else doing that, you would have been so mad. But because it
Man,
was Clay,
seriously.
like, you couldn't really get that mad. You're actually kind of happy for him. But yeah, it was just a completely decimating loss.
Yeah, we're not looking
But,
for a repeat performance though. I don't think that's gonna happen again on
right,
on Wednesday
right. And
or
knock
on
on wood, you
Friday.
just
Friday,
jinxed it on
right?
Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
He looked good
But
that
yeah,
first game back, but they're already tough, so we'll see.
right. Without Clay, that was going to be a tough matchup. So, but yeah, hopefully the Bulls are looking to get some revenge, right? Because that game up in the Bay earlier in the season didn't go as planned. They came out with the right amount of energy, but yeah, they just weren't able to put it together for the full 48. But like you said, two huge games coming up. As you mentioned before we started recording, 4 games in 5 nights in general, like upcoming, but
Man,
the two huge national TV games, Brooklyn and Golden State, and then still a major team in terms of just like star power. You still have Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum with Boston, um, and that's a road game, and then a big TNT game with Memphis. So yeah, definitely like an interesting stretch coming up. Obviously, the
that's
Bulls just. Oh no, go ahead.
there's a lot of good teams in this stretch too. Like teams that are
Yeah,
even capping off for the Grizzlies next Monday. Like, they're playing
that's a good.
incredible
Yeah,
right
that's
now.
gonna be a
It's
that's gonna be a tough matchup. Yeah, for sure. Um, but one thing I guess we can talk about real quick is the fact that they were on this 9 game winning streak, and then they went over to Dallas, and Luca and Maxi Kleber just had other ideas
Maxi
about their own
Kleber,
streak.
man.
What was your takeaway from that game? Kind of going in, I'm pretty sure you probably expected them to pull out another W with the way things were trending. But what was your knee jerk feelings and reactions after the game yesterday night?
Man, I was so confident going into the game. I'm like, this is, and Dallas is obviously a good team with Luca. Whenever he's out there, they have a chance to get the victory. But
Hmm.
going to the game, I was like, we already beat them. We're gonna beat them again. Like I'm not too worried. But it was just, I think what happened was there's just a letdown at the end of the game, especially the start of the fourth quarter. They
Yeah,
got out to hit a couple threes. Like you said, Maxi Kleber was crazy. He had six
right.
threes, 18 points, all off threes. They couldn't find him behind the line. They did a bad job in terms of defending the pick and roll. I think they dropped down a little bit too much, especially Vooch, and they just made him pay over the top. And Luca was kind of just picking us apart throughout the entire game.
He
Um,
was and also playing in the post, which I
yeah,
think the first matchup he wasn't doing as much, but this game he was like clearing people out. And on some plays, particularly Kobe White, and he's just like, I'm about to back you down from 30 feet and I'm going to shoot
right,
this
right,
turnaround fadeaway. And I was just, he's definitely he's a huge point guard. So it's like, what are you going to do? And that's something where
exactly,
I thought, Lonzo might have made a difference. Like that's a nice new addition the Bulls have, this iteration of the team. But there's just certain players where there's not much you can do with, especially when they're throwing Lonzo in pick and rolls, right? And so he's
exactly. Yeah,
hunting, somebody else.
I thought they did pretty well. Like Lonzo and especially Ayo, they did well getting around
They
screens.
did.
But once again, he puts the body into him or starts posting them up. Like that's a huge size advantage.
Yeah.
Even though he might just have a couple inches
But
on Lonzo, like he has at least 20 pounds or so on him, easy. So
right.
it's
But also he's crafty because once Luka gets you on his hip, he does like that classic Chris Paul where he's kind of dribbling in front of you, and so you're
right.
still trying to catch up.
He
But then
traps
his
you. Yeah,
vision is so good, and he's still a good offensive player. It's just he has too many options at that point. So
yeah,
yeah,
and it was kind of stuck on automatic with like the decision making. And if he's in that type of flow, you have to do something to get him out of it. And I think he
Right.
was in that flow basically for 3 quarters, and then at the start of the 4th, their role guys just came in and started making plays, and that was obviously Kleba, but
They started making
Josh
plays.
Josh Green,
Yeah.
18 off the bench, he was he was
No,
killing,
I
flying
know.
in for shots. I'm
Finney
like,
Finney Smith's 4 threes. Like,
yeah, it was it was disappointing, I would say. Like, it's funny when you
yeah,
build up and then kind of through the team's play, you earn that expectation of, you should win every game, or like you think you win every game. When
right,
you lose, and especially off a long streak, it just feels like a missed opportunity. I don't know. It's like a weird feeling like
right.
that. They haven't had that expectation, since the D Rose era. Honestly, I mean, even when they
No, you're right. Yeah,
had Jimmy Butler, like those teams were good, but they kind of were still kind of
middle of the pack.
mid-level. Yeah, like
Yeah,
kind of like a 500 team or slightly better, but just with a great player and decent overall like pieces. But
right.
yeah, it's just a whole different mentality. Like when you're on a 9-game winning streak and then it gets snapped. But it's
Yeah,
a
no,
wait, go ahead.
no. I was gonna say, I think before the Dallas game, Billy Donovan was saying, like, even with while they were on the streak, right, and everything was trending upwards, he's like, we need to play better defense. So what I'm
Yeah,
hoping happened is after the performance yesterday, is now there's some buy-in, right? Like as a team, they're like, yeah, we got to play better defense than that. And there's actual tangible results. Like there's a reason why your coach was saying that while you guys are winning.
right.
So it'll be interesting to see how they rebound against Detroit. And even though Detroit, they're like you said, a lottery team, it's like they still play the Bulls tough. Like it's not going to be a cakewalk at the same time. So
No, it's not going to be. And then also it's a different matchup than what we've seen because Cade's playing, and
right,
it kind of goes back to that first preview we did with he played the Pistons first game of the season, but obviously Cade didn't play. That matchup with Lonzo is going to be important. He's coming off a career high. Cade had 29 tonight, hit like I think 5 threes. He's a
oh
high
man,
volume three guy already. Yeah, he's
oh man,
he's I think he's starting to find his groove too, though. Just getting more comfortable with it's NBA flow, NBA speed, and making plays as a primary lead guard because with Jeremy Grant even out right now, K's the man.
yeah,
If that were to be in debate anyway, but yeah, it's him
right,
and Hamadou Diallo and Sadiq Bey, like basically taking every shot now. So
right.
it's
I mean,
it's gonna be interesting to see on tomorrow actually.
yeah, and I mean he's also 20, right? Like even number one pick or not, like it just takes some time to find your footing in this grown man game. Like it's perfectly reasonable the trajectory he's on right now. Um,
What do you think of Killian Hayes so far? I know he's been struggling a lot, but I just feel like it's kind of strange how they've been handling him. He's just starting, like I don't know. Like I feel like not to say obviously starting spots need to be earned. In a rebuilding situation is always weird, but I feel like
yeah,
he's just kind of out there a lot of times where like it's not positive development and a lot because I mean, at any given night, if you go up against an all-star, and then what do they really expect you to do if you're not really ready to perform at that high level yet?
right. No, no, no. I mean, you bring up a great point because I think oftentimes fans kind of clamor for guys you see potential in. Like, hey, just start them. You just let them play, gain the experience. But you're
Yeah,
right. It's almost like that old adage about like practice makes perfect, but it's like, no, perfect practice makes perfect. Like, you got to put people in the right situation to get better. It's not just about throwing guys out there. So that's a good point. Yeah, I don't really know. I think it's one of those things where the team just kind of has to develop um, with better structure, and that might mean a shuffling of players and like letting other roles kind of develop better, so people's like skills and assets can shine through. But yeah, I think it's something that probably won't get solved this year.
right. No, it's
But
not. It's not going to be.
yeah, maybe next season and beyond. But yeah, it's a shame because unfortunately that's actually a larger point about a lot of players where if you're just maybe not in the best situation for your game, it may just derail the trajectory of your career. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, and
versus
also
yeah,
if you gotta remember, like if Detroit's in position to replace him next year in the draft, they're going to do that also. which is like, I mean, it's not a flaw in the system, but it's just that's how it is. If you do end up in the lottery again, you're gonna go best available or whatever. If
Right,
he didn't show you enough in those first couple of years as a starter, even though he wasn't ready to start, it could, like I said, it might not positively affect his development like they think it might. But
right.
I think the keys to victory for that game, I think that's a Vooch game once again. I think that matchup with the Pistons is just a favorable matchup. Um, there's obviously been games where he's underperformed in the past, but
So so
if
let me
they get
let
him
me
going early, once again, as we said, if they get him touches early, gets a
well,
couple threes to fall or a couple jumpers to fall early, I'm looking at a big night for Vooch against the Pistons.
so I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna have you play basketball therapist for me real quick. Talk me off the ledge with Vooch because that that layup dunk situation in the first quarter yesterday.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
the wide open fast
I,
break?
of
So
course.
so I saw that and I was like, wait a second. And then I think there was just some more kind of bunny situations that came up. And so just when I thought things are kind of trending upwards, I see this inconsistency, and so my fear doesn't go to like right now, but more of like, will this happen in the playoffs when it's like everything's
Right,
aligned
right.
and we just need him to complete that puzzle? Like, do I need to be worried, or where where should I be at thinking about this?
That's
Because I know Vooch
actually,
is your guy.
I think that's a great question though. Because I mean, he's had even good games, like great games recently, but
He
it's
has.
a great question because I think my answer to that is just look at where we are after the. I'm even going to say after the Memphis game. Track his performances and then see where we are after the Memphis game in terms of how many wins did we get and then what did Vooch do in these games. Because if he does dominate against the Pistons and then against the Nets doesn't do anything, then that's a little eye opening. Or if he plays well against the Pistons and then has a bad game against the Nets and the Warriors, or doesn't play well against like obviously the better teams, I think that's a little eye opening. But to me, I feel
Yeah.
like still his performance has been just kind of mental, where it's just been stuff that he normally makes. He's just not
Right.
hitting, But because he has, like I said, in this recent stretch, he has played very well. So it's not like he's incapable
Yeah.
of playing well. It's just I think it's still kind of in his head a little bit where the team's so good and they can still win without him playing 100% or having an A+ teammate grade. But I think he can still win. He gets a C+. You know what I mean? Like that's just the
No,
nature of things right now. So I just think we'll see what will make him pick it up, basically.
no, so that's actually a great segue slash point that I was about to make. Like, even if he has a C+ game, that most of the time is enough with the way this team is constructed right now. But I think
Yeah,
at the same time, my fear is once again, we get into a deep playoff run and everything is aligned and we just need him to like have like two or three games out of a series where he's just going off, based on other teams loading up on DeMar, loading up on Zach, whatever, and we just need that extra guy. Let's say Lonzo's not hitting all his threes that game, because that's usually where he's getting his boost of confidence throughout this season. Um, and he's just unable to deliver in that moment. And then if we were to get eliminated just because of that, but not because it's like, oh man, Vooch, like you should have stepped it up. But it's like because we all know how good he is would be the tragic part for me. Like,
yeah, definitely. I think what you were saying earlier about DeMar potentially wearing down, they should the same thing that I suggested with DeMar. They should do the same with Vooch. You saw it a little bit with Tyler Cook. I know he just sprained his ankle, but you saw a little with him getting a little bit more minutes
yeah,
or earlier shifts backing up Vooch. But at the end of the day, against these upper echelon teams, that's why it's gonna be interesting to see what they do against the Nets this week. They don't play. I mean, obviously they played Nick Claxton,
right.
KD, obviously Blake Blake off the bench, and then the rookie Dayron Sharp. But I want to see how the Bulls gonna match their size. Um, Coming off the bench because if Cook's not available, they're gonna have to go with obviously Tony Bradley's the next guy, and then if Derrick Jones Jr. is starting, then Troy Brown has to play up with Io
Right.
and then Kobe White, DeMar. So I just want to see what they'll do in terms of, do we try and match size or do we go speed or do we go smaller? I think small ball has been the way that obviously has been working for us this season, but against certain matchups, against the taller teams, like what do we do? We play Cleveland down the
Yeah,
line. Like what is the strategy? So
that's a big team.
man, I was watching them earlier today. Like this is crazy. Like just how it's just molded together and just worked so seamlessly so far for them.
I love how they went ultra big in a league where everybody's playing small ball. I absolutely love it.
They doubled down. Like we got
Yeah,
Larry Mark at the 3 with them. We're gonna bring Kevin Love off the bench, switch Evan Mobley to the 5. Like this is wow. This
they went
is
ultra big. I love it.
hey.
That's something I would do if I was a GM.
That's definitely some 2K like
Right,
something you do in 2K. Stack the deck.
right. Um, so speaking of like I guess rotations and big men and kind of lineups in that sense. I know the last Brooklyn game, Javante was guarding Durant a lot of times. Do you know where he's at with his health status? And then also, I think Caruso, they said he's ruled out for the Detroit game, but he's close. Um, but like, I guess my main point is like, how much of these injuries is kind of affecting the ripple effect of like rotations for the Bulls and like when let's say a guy like Javante and a guy like Caruso is back in the lineup, like does that stabilize and just kind of quell any kind of questions about this team right now, in your opinion?
I think so, but I mean, there's now going to be guys with expectations to play. But
Right,
as I've said kind of before, these guys are, Troy Brown Jr.'s of the world. If he is going back to spot minutes, it's not the worst thing. Not in terms of like, oh, you don't want him out there, but he's going to accept that role and be fine with it. And he can still be effective playing short minutes. But you bring Green back, that's a starter. If they choose to start Caruso, that's another guy who could start or is going to play 28 to 30 minutes off the bench. And then what do you do with Io and Kobe because they're playing well together? So you want to keep
right,
that intact, but are you going to roll out Io, Kobe, Caruso, and then DeMar, and then a big guy, second unit? Could do that, but they have to commit to doing that going forward. So I think roles are going to change a little bit. Obviously Kobe's minutes and Io's minutes are going to come down a little bit, but it's going to be cool. There's a lot of ways to mix and match now with offensive and defensive players. So I think Billy Donovan is gonna have they should have a fun time mixing lineups because it is kind of like like you're controlling a video game right now with the subs that are available, all the lineup possibilities.
right, right. Yeah. No, one thing I definitely appreciated about Donovan is just his flexibility to play with lineups. And I mean, that's something he's done with his other previous stops in the NBA, right? Like even that Chris Paul OKC team where he, play those three guard combo sets and like
He's
he's
not
just not
afraid to
afraid to
trust
mix it up,
guys.
which I
Yeah,
definitely appreciate.
exactly. He's not afraid to
That too,
trust
which is
guys. Yeah.
important for chemistry, for confidence. Yeah.
I mean, remember you brought up that Thunder team before anybody knew who Luguentz Dort was. He was starting him as a rookie in the
Right.
playoffs. Like it's
And everybody was like, "Who is this?" And he was continuously proving, this is who I am. Like he was playing big minutes.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If he trusts you, if you've earned Billy Donovan's trust, that's why I think Iowa is such the perfect situation because he's a college coach also. I mean, like, he has so much college experience too, and Iowa's obviously coming from a great college career. He just came from that environment. I think that connection's been underrated because once you saw that he earned Billy's trust like in preseason with just his defensive energy, I was like, okay, he's gonna get some minutes, but once he
Yeah.
started making shots and making plays, it's like, okay, he's gonna play for real now because like he actually
Right.
trusts him to do things on the court. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Something
it's
that's
been
been a. Oh, what's that?
another saying it's been dope to see. It's been dope to see just him Io and Kobe White just kind of finding their groove over the last week or so.
Yeah. No, and I think that's just been a great pairing. Io and Kobe, like they actually play really well together, and I could see that even maturing into something even better. Um, Especially with Kobe, he's like more defensive minded. Like he even said it back when he was working his way back into the rotation. That
Yeah,
was one thing his way of trying to fit into the team was like, let me just play defense. Because he's seeing Caruso out there, he's seeing Javante, he's seeing Io.
Right,
out
right.
there, fighting over the top of these screens, just really giving that defensive effort. And so I think that really rubbed off well on him in terms of his effort. Um, but then obviously his offense has come around too now. Like he's hitting shots consistently, like big shots off the bench.
Yeah, we
But
don't
then
run
Io is
either.
doing the same thing.
He is. It's crazy. They're like the
Yeah.
same size too. It's like it's really like once you see
Yeah.
Kobe lock in defensively, like man, like he really does have like once you get him in that mindset where like he can contribute defensively as well as
Yeah.
offensively, he can play. Yeah, he can make those same sort of plays. It might not look as spectacular, but he did a couple nice blocks over
He
that.
did.
I think the Washington game, and like you said with his offense, like we obviously don't win. And I think DeMar said it too after the game. We don't win that Washington game without him. He hit a lot of
Not
big
at
shots
all.
down the stretch. The Indiana game as well, but yeah, he's been on a tear lately.
Yeah. Yeah, no, people were, well, some people, I'm not going to say a lot, but people were definitely clamoring for maybe making a trade, and it's just like this is exactly what I envision what he's doing right now, and I'm really happy that he's able to pull that off in this role.
Quick sidebar. Have you seen any of the noise on people wanting to trade Patrick Williams all of a sudden? I mean, because
I
obviously
have seen,
Jeremy Grant's been floated around. I don't.
right.
First off, I'm not in the camp to trade Patrick Williams. I don't think that's a good move right now.
Yeah,
And me personally, I don't think Jeremy Grant would be the solution to Giannis or KD. To me, I look at it as who is your toughest matchup in your conference, just bar none. The rest of your Western Conference opponent, like say you're advancing far. Obviously, you want to advance far in the playoffs, but you can't
right.
worry about your Western Conference opponent because that's just
No,
random. So, who are the toughest matchups for you in the East? To me, obviously, individually, Joel Embiid, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and then Kevin Durant. So
KD,
it's
yeah.
like, do we match up with these guys on paper, or do we have the pieces to do it? So it's a lot of people are saying we need extra size, which I think that is an issue. We do need another big, but are you in the camp to trade Patrick Williams? Would you make that deal right now? I mean, it's a risky move. I feel like.
It definitely is risky. I think this is the parts where I would struggle as a GM, especially because it's just like guys that I draft. So let's say I drafted Patrick Williams, I wouldn't want to trade a kid like that. So
Right. Yeah.
I feel like I would have a hard time just looking at the potential he has and just like the type of player and like character guy he is. Um, I would say no because I could see him going to another team and then just becoming a flat out monster, right? And I don't want that on my hands.
Especially if it's
Um,
Detroit, like that'd be a
especially if it's
disaster.
Detroit, right? So I'm definitely not in that camp. I'm not gonna lie, I bought into it for a little while, but I think it's tough to say when it's just like when Patrick got hurt so early. It's just like, man, we could use another piece right now, right? Because especially when we were looking a little thin on the front line. Um, but with the way this team has kind of gelled and picked things up and just showed you what they can do with a major, basically a starter that's out. Um, I definitely feel like Patrick reinserted it with this team and then, maturing and growing. Um, I like that outlook a lot better than making
Right.
a trade for him specifically right now. And it's kind of the same mindset I have for Kobe White as well, right? It's like, yeah, we could use him as a trade piece to get something else, but it's like, does that actually really make us that much better? Like, how much does that really move the needle?
Exactly.
Um,
If you're not
so
acquiring that, I mean, think about it. Who, what players are even available to match up with the guys I named anyway? Like, especially,
right,
I mean, if you ignore obviously the Embiid, but if you just Giannis and KD, there's no one that you can be like, okay, this person is like,
no,
I don't know, size wise, like what, maybe Chris Boucher. Like, who could you get, especially at that comparable level? There's nobody out there, so I think it's
yeah.
unrealistic. Not only is it unrealistic, I think it's premature too. Like they don't, like you said, they don't need to do that right now.
Yeah, I think that's the two biggest things I would say is it's premature in the sense where it's just like you don't need to actually even consider that right now. Like just
Right.
roll with what you got. But the second point is, does it move the needle? And I just think not that much. Yeah, if anything, it's a net neutral. So it's just like, what's the point? You might as well
Right.
keep the chemistry of the team you have now and not rock the boat too much because I keep harping on chemistry. It's just this team has come together so well, chemistry wise. I
Exactly.
think
Yeah.
that's where some intangible points more than just throwing some names in there or some guys that have some more height, for instance, right? It's just like once again, even the Kobe White situation where he comes back in, he sees guys scrapping to get minutes, and he's like, "Well, I got to do that too." And he's having one of his better defensive seasons of his career at this point. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah, I wouldn't, but
Hey,
people get antsy,
the trade
I don't
deadline's a
know,
month away, a month from today. So we'll we'll see. We'll see if anything
right?
happens. Um, yeah.
Right. I know
Let's.
at one point I saw something online about oh well real quick before we segue on that same note, I thought I saw something about someone maybe throwing Cousins into like
Hmm,
a minimum deal or something to like shore up the front line. I
he's on
think
a
he
10.
just signed with somebody.
Yeah, 10
Yeah.
day with the Nuggets, and he used to be coached by Mike Malone. So people think he might stick there,
Right.
and they obviously just
Yeah,
traded Bol, so he actually
right.
might
Yeah,
stay there.
there's a good chance he'll stick around, but yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to them like picking up somebody maybe to stick at the end of the bench for front. Do they actually they have a open roster spot, right?
Um,
Or no?
I don't think so anymore. I gotta double
Not
check that,
anymore.
but yeah, because I think McKinney occupied it after
Oh, right. I forgot about
they
McKinney.
also
Yeah.
converted Matt Thomas too. So I don't know if they like he's not on a two-way anymore.
But I think it's like a non-guaranteed deal or something.
Is it?
Like
I'm
they're
not
like they
even
have some
sure.
flexibility with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Either way, yeah. The team they have now is a team I think you roll the dice with. If we need to make a move or we need to like make any adjustments, I think next year is when you seriously consider that. But it's like until we get Patrick back and let him kind of with everything he's kind of learning being off the court, it sounds like he's been heavily invested in like film sessions and
Yeah.
just picking apart different aspects of the game, things he can do off the court with the assistant coaches and whatnot. I think you still got to give that a chance to gel.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's shown so much potential already. You can't give up on that this quickly. I mean, and
Yeah,
especially since we're in a good position like right now where he doesn't have to rush back. If he can come back this season, that would be great. That
right.
would
But yeah,
obviously help our team a lot, but I
yeah,
think we can still roll with what we have, or like you said, make a smaller deal and be fine. So,
yep, yep.
all right, let's go into the games this week. We'll do something a little different this time. We'll pick a couple players to watch, starting five, and then a role player off the bench who's gonna get off in each game. I mean, you can pick
Okay,
ball side and then opponent side too. I mean, I don't know if you want to do both, but
okay.
we'll see. We'll roll with it. That first game was the Pistons, obviously. So, give me two players to look out for.
Pistons. I'm thinking. Let me look at the roster here. I'm expecting a bounce back game from DeRozan. Actually, I feel like he's. I think he probably wanted to play better in that Dallas game for sure. You can see he was pressing a little bit, but knowing that these two kind of national TV spotlight games against, first of all, competition for first in the East, and then a powerhouse team like the Warriors. I think he's going to try and build some momentum going into those games. So I'm actually expecting a pretty big game from him. And then, hmm, I think Vooch is going to have a good game too. I think he's probably a little disappointed with that performance in Dallas, and he's going to try and have a rebound performance from that aspect. What about you?
Not mad at that. I think Zach. I mean, kind of in the same aspect. He didn't play that well against Dallas at all. So I think he's gonna
Right,
have a big offensive night against the Pistons. They don't have anybody who can match up with them, in my opinion. They don't have anybody
right.
even close to matching up with them on paper.
They
So
don't.
they have some athletic young wings. Obviously, I think Diallo's going to guard him a little bit. They'll try Kate Cunningham. But I think a guy to stop off the bench for the Pistons. They've been playing Trey Lyles a lot lately, so you don't want him or Corey Joseph, anybody like that, to get off Sadiq Bey.
Corey
Um,
Joe.
their options are limited without Grant. There's a lot more shots available, but
Right.
if we can even it out and make guys who aren't used to scoring big, make them take shots, then I think this can be an easy runaway game. But you never know in the league. They're coming off a
You
back to
never
back
know.
too. So,
Is Bo playing, or does he need some more time
oh,
to?
actually, hey, that's a sneaky good pick. He actually, I
Yeah,
think they announced the deal today, so he might be playing tomorrow.
yeah. I feel like they might try and get him in there.
Watch, he plays
Um,
tomorrow. 21-12, 4 blocks.
yeah, one of his best games of his career.
All he needed was a chance.
Yeah. And then so Brooklyn on Wednesday. I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit nervous about Kyrie. I feel like he's just amped. He's ready to play any and everybody. Um,
Yeah.
that should be a fun matchup though with Lonzo out there. Yeah,
Hopefully we get Caruso back too. I know you said he's getting closer. If not for that game, we
right.
need Caruso for that Warriors game for sure.
We
But
definitely need him for that Warriors game. We need somebody to mix it up on Clay and stuff for sure.
couple players on both sides, I
Um,
would say, to watch for. Um, whoever's guarding KD, I assume that's gonna be to start out Derrick Jones Jr. So just his performance, or if he has any effectiveness, or is able to still contribute, offensively, because the Bulls still do need his,
yeah,
if he's starting 7 to 12 points, something like that. So, and he's been obviously consistent at
right.
doing that throughout the season. And then another guy to watch on Brooklyn side is I think Nick Claxton is a guy to look out for. He had a rough game tonight
Yeah,
against the Blazers, but I think that's a guy, or whoever the Nets decide to throw out there, alongside KD, starting at the center spot. Claxton or the rookie Day'Ron Sharp, like I said, those are guys that can hurt you on the glass. And I think we've seen before with athletic bigs, or teams able to throw that lob pass. I saw it a couple times. Teams just throwing it over the tops, killing us in pick and roll. Obviously,
yeah,
without James Harden, they don't have that type of lob passer. But if Claxton can score off the roll and get tip dunks, and just stay active, get blocks, like that's a tougher night for us too.
right. Yeah, no, I definitely for some reason right before you said it, yeah, I feel like Nick Claxton is gonna make some noise for some reason against the Bulls. We'll see. Um, yeah, it's just he's a big dude. For Golden State, something is telling me, I don't know where this is coming from, but Wiggins is gonna have a good game.
Oh man.
See Maple Jordan out there. Um, so yeah, Wiggins. Obviously, Clay is gonna be Jazz. He's on his way back.
Right,
Um,
right.
First game in Cleveland the other day, or yesterday actually. Um, so that's definitely going to kind of feed into that team from an energy standpoint. But yeah, I'm thinking Wiggins and Clay are two guys to watch for kind of like breakout performances. And then
I
on the
think.
Bulls side, I actually think Io is going to have some strong
Mm,
defensive moments,
okay,
which is going to feed into some good offense. So
we'd love to see that
I'm
for
looking
sure.
forward to seeing that dynamic. Yeah,
I think this is a big test for Io. He's gonna have some time on Kyrie's stuff. A couple guys this week. He might even see some time later
mm,
on Jalen Brown too, or like against
right.
the Celtics. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's the guy I'm looking out for. On the Bulls side of things against the Warriors is I think DeMar DeRozan. I think that's a game for him to really exploit things, because without Draymond Green, I think it's going to be. Well, I'm not sure if he's going to play or not. He had calf tightness the other day, but if he
right.
doesn't play,
Yeah,
then there's no two good matchups right now against Zach and Demar. Obviously, Clay's working his way back. He's an elite defender when at full strength, and
right,
he could have a good game defending Zach, but he's still going to be playing shorter spurts. So if Zach doesn't let, or any of the guys let Clay get off, the Warriors still have to score. They still have to get points. And if Draymond's not there to facilitate and help them get easy points, I think DeMar can really, shine the other end. Or DeMar and Zach can just have big scoring nights. It's going to be a little tougher to stop us offensively. So I think it could end up being a defensive battle, but yeah, I think DeMar can have a big game that game. And then on the Warriors side, I watch out for Gary Payton II and then Jordan Poole too. So
Mm, yeah, yeah, no, those are they have a really solid depth situation going on. Like they're just primed to keep throwing guys at you on both sides of the ball.
they have a lot of
So
guys
yeah,
who can beat you. Yeah, a lot of guys who
yeah,
can play similar positions too.
yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, big tests for the Bulls coming up. But I mean, this is kind of what you want, right? We're at the top. We're or at the top of the conference, and you kind of want to see how they match up. Not only early in the season, but later when your legs are getting a little heavier and the spotlights are getting bigger. Just kind of seeing how guys respond, because all of this is a foregone conclusion that they're gonna be deep in the mix in the playoffs. They're not scratching to get their way in. Like they'll definitely be in there, and the expectation is they'll make it out the first and probably the second round. So at this point, a lot of this is just like preparation for the playoffs, and so it'll be nice to kind of see how they perform. So
Definitely,
yeah,
man.
yeah,
It's gonna be a good test. Yeah, I mean to cut you off, but yeah, it's gonna be a good test this week. There's a lot of formidable teams.
yeah, yeah. Well, cool. We put a bunch of highlight mixes up on the channel this past week, so go ahead and check that out. A lot of it has been Bulls centric, obviously Bulls from the go. So we're just trying to show some love to the guys who have kind of held down the fort since the beginning of the season. Any particular standouts from any of the mixes that have come out for you?
Yeah, I just did the Derrick Jones Jr. mix, and man, it's everything he does is spectacular. Obviously, he's
I
a
know.
crazy athlete, but once you put the mix together, it's like every block is crazy. Every obviously every dunk, but it's like all these other hustle plays, all these other plays you wouldn't think of. Like he's just flying all over the place. And then Troy Brown Jr. had some fun highlights because he does like a little bit of everything. Obviously, he's like a Swiss Army knife in a way. And yeah, the ones you did, Io, man, like Io is just he's just solid. Like it's just when you watch
Yeah,
his tape,
he's
it's just man, he's just really solid at everything. Like it's and for a
and
guy
it's
that young, it's just man, it's just so rare.
right. He's a rookie. B, it's like that was it's funny you mentioned that, and we can kind of end on this, but like that was kind of the question mark about him, right? He's like, is he a generalist? Like, what does he do well? And the answer is everything. Like he's
Right.
pretty good at everything, and that's not a bad thing. And so maybe that's what the other 29 teams or the other 30 teams are thinking when they passed on him.
Hey,
But
idiots.
idiots,
All of them. Except the
our
Bulls.
gang, yeah. But yeah, that's been another episode from Bulls from the Go. We'll be back soon with another edition. Thanks for checking us out. Until next time.
Check us out, bullsonthego.com. As always, at bullsonthego on social media. Delay Game Hoops, you can find all the highlight videos. Delay Game Hoops at YouTube. Got a couple more videos coming out. I think we got to end with Zach and Vooch and wrap up the rest of the guys who haven't had a video yet. There's only a few more, I think Lonzo, Zach, and then Vucevic as well.
Yep.
Be on the lookout for that. That's going to drop, I think, later this week or before the week's up. So,
Yep, they should all be up by Thursday.
Some fun side dishes, to go along with the games, like the crazy games that are happening this week. So, we'll look out for that. And, until next time, Wilson to go.